issues. She is an author and a video blogger, bringing awareness to rare diseases such as Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, dysautonomia, and CRPS. She also manages a Facebook page that brings information to complex disease patients called Sweet Lemon Pies. Please join me in welcoming Karen Richards.
Thank you for the introduction. In 1933, a great man by the name of Franklin Delano Roosevelt made his first inauguration speech, in which he pronounced that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Trying to inspire the American people during a time of depression, it was a compelling statement to be remembered forever by not just Americans, but by the world. It is often when I remember these wise words of FDR, I keep them close to my heart as I am fighting a battle in which I must not allow fear to meddle. I suffer from many rare diseases, those of which include complex regional pain syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, dysautonomia, mitochondrial disorder, and mast cell activation disorder. I have had 18 surgeries and a countless number of procedures. For as long as I am capable of remembering, I have been fighting a constant battle, this battle against my rare diseases, which bravery and strength have been necessary to my disposition. This has never been an easy fight. There have been many moments when I thought it was over. I so vividly remember as a little girl, wishing that I could grow wings to fly away out of my wheelchair, or maybe even out of this world. There are many moments along my journey which I will never be capable of forgetting. I will never forget the time I was told I was dislocating my shoulder for attention by an orthopedic surgeon at Children's Hospital Boston, who was supposedly the best. I will never forget the damage that doctor's decision caused, not only to my shoulder, but to my heart. I will never forget the 7-hour surgery it took to repair my shoulder. I will never forget sitting in a wheelchair my entire 4th grade year, watching the other kids play on the playground because of a misdiagnosis. The misdiagnosis of a psychiatric disorder at the age of 10 years old. I will never forget being sent to a mental hospital in the state of Rhode Island, where I was treated like a piece of trash on the side of the highway. I will never forget when they finally started me on blood pressure medication, realizing that it wasn't a psychiatric disorder at all, but I was fainting and having seizures because of low blood pressure. I will never forget my mother losing her mind with grief after a local doctor told us that although I may die, his hospital would not approve of the risky surgery I needed to save my life. We ended up traveling to Washington, D.C. to get this surgery. Not because I wanted to see the monuments or the tourist sites, but because that was what I needed to do in order to have the God-given right of living. The fear that existed in myself, my fear of suddenly getting sick again and needing another surgery, the fear of people misunderstanding, the fear of acceptance. One aspect of human nature is that we always fear the unknown. Rare disease is unknown, and therefore there is a lingering fear which always surrounds it. I saw this fear not only in myself, but in others, in their nature and how they treated me. I wish for many things to change regarding rare disease. I wish that the standardized fear of rare disease did not exist. I wish that my family and I did not have to travel for all my medical care, that no doctor would ever deny a patient out of fear. I wish that insurance companies would cover all my medications and all my surgeries without question. I wish that politicians better understood how to help the rare disease community, that they would not fear and ignore the very real political issue of rare disease. It is because I wish all these things that I will never stop advocating. I will never let my patient voice go unheard. I will stand loud, yelling towards the stars until my wishes come true. I am able to stand here today only because I have faced my own fears. For a long time, I feared rare disease more than anyone. For a long time, I was so scared, and I did not want anything to do with my disease. I was a marionette being controlled by my fears. 5 years ago, if you had asked me, my family, or anyone who knew me, if I would ever become an advocate for rare diseases, they would laugh at you and say no. I stand here only because I have learned to face my fears. After years of anguish, I have learned to overcome my rare disease. To say that I have done this without struggle would be a downright lie. I suffered many years, and I suffered a great amount, before my stubborn mind accepted that being sick was not the end of my world. It was as if I had been cast away to a deserted island. I was so utterly alone, so scared of my disease. The greatest fear I carried was of acceptance. I did not want to accept this illness. I wanted to be normal just like my peers, and I feared that acceptance would lead to me becoming nothing more than my disease. As time went on, I began to realize I need not be afraid. I would only be fighting this battle if I chose to. I did not have to fear my disabilities or my rare disease, and so I stopped. Some part of me suddenly decided to rise up strong, to rise up against these fears. I let go, and I saw the importance of my disease in a different way, and I saw it become so much smaller. I suddenly had my voice back. It was not the voice of fear, which I had carried for all these years, but the voice of Karen Richards, who had conquered fear. To realize the burden of fear was gone was truly a sweet serenity. Everyone has a fear of something, and although that fear may seem big to us, it is really so small in relation to what we can accomplish when we face that fear. I faced my fear, and I suddenly found myself smashing the limitations that I had once thought existed. It is easy to forget it is truly ourselves and our own self-doubt that limits us to the small confines in which we choose to live. It is easy to forget that if we face our fears, we can soar past the moon and towards the stars. Being diagnosed with a rare disease is no doubt one of the scariest and worst things that can ever happen to a person, but you cannot let it end you. I will be the first one to admit this is easier said than done. Although acceptance may seem painful, I guarantee there is nothing more painful than letting your disease stand in your way. This has been my personal epiphany. Managing my fear is the best choice I have ever made, and since then, I have long forgotten I was ever afraid. I have since moved far beyond the island which I had been cast away to. I write stories about kids with all types of chronic illnesses and publish them on my website. I educate people on rare disease. I help a great organization called TCAP, which supports kids in chronic pain. I do anything and everything in my power to help the rare disease community, and I hope that in doing so, I have helped people. In 1933, when FDR said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," he was trying to inspire the nation during the Great Depression, challenging everyone to take action. Today, I challenge you all, lawmakers, patients, caretakers, insurance representatives, common spectators, to face your fears of not only rare disease, but of everything, just as I have faced mine. Keep Franklin Delano Roosevelt's words close to your heart each and every day. I only stand here because I have learned to not fear the horrible banishment of rare disease, but rather to live as though I never knew. This is how I have found my happiness. And what an experience it is, standing in front of over 100 people, telling my story, when just 5 years prior, I would have been sitting on the couch, pouting to myself because there is nothing good that can come out of my disease. What an experience it was when I was able to realize that the details of my illness, which used to coincide with such an extraordinary amount of fear, now seem so small in comparison to the never-ending spirit which I now have.